Welcome to Critter Crusades, the show about ordinary people on extraordinary missions to help animals. I'm Missy Woodward. Thank you for joining us. Today I have a fabulous guest from a very amazing animal organization that's really doing a lot to help animals, Toni Eakes. Welcome.
Thank you.
And you are with A Wish for Animals. You are the founder.
I am.
So what is your wish for animals?
My wish for animals is to try to save as many as possible from bad situations and get them into good forever homes. And that's really our mission.
And you've been doing this for at least, what, 8 years?
About 8 years, yeah.
That's amazing. Now, how did you get started?
I got started being in the garment business, and I am in a lot of bad places in downtown areas. And I started finding dogs on the street, and I couldn't just leave them there. A lot of them are in need of medical. They're scared, they're lost, and so I get them as much as I can. And I started picking them up, and the next thing you know, I had a rescue because I didn't know what to do with all of them.
So had you always been a love for animals? And
yes, my whole life. I used to be the child that would see a stray dog or a cat on the playground and bring it home, and my dad wasn't too happy with me, but we made it work.
So what did you do? Sneak them into the office in the middle of the afternoon, or how did everybody react that you work with?
Oh, right now or when I was younger?
Well, when you were doing the first initial rescuing here to start the
I worked with a couple of groups that were helping me out as I got started, and the next thing you know, I started finding foster homes for them. I started boarding them until we could get them placed, and we put up a website. We're on Pet Finder and 1-800-SAVE-A-PET and Pet Portal, and that's been such a tremendous help to help animals find homes. I mean, we probably do about 95% of our placements that way.
So all these nonprofit organizations that do that kind of help to let other nonprofits help are so important.
Absolutely.
Now you have a guest here today with us, which is Biscuit. Now Biscuit is another one of your rescues. Tell me a little bit about Biscuit.
Biscuit is a pit bull mix. We are a non-breed specific rescue, so we rescue any breed, anybody that needs help basically. And Biscuit came to us with his mother and his siblings. We rescued him from not such a good situation. We rescue a lot of dogs also from hoarders and high-kill shelters and things like that, but he happened to be in a kind of a bad situation with a hoarder. And so we took them. And now we're looking for a home for him.
Great.
And he's just a great little guy. He's about 5 months old, and
look how quiet he is. He's sitting here on set. He's already ready for his first movie part, I'm sure. So that way, anybody out there, any casting agents, exactly, they've got a great opportunity with that one.
Absolutely.
So how do you find time in your life, working a full-time job, to do something like this? That's always my question.
Yeah, everybody asks me that. People ask me if they can have my energy, as I'm sure they do with you. But you just make the time. It's so important. And people are always asking me about rescuing and how do I have the time, and they wish they could do what I do, and I say you can do what I do, and I think I love animals, but there's so many people out there that love animals, and it's just educating yourself and knowing what's going on out there to know what needs to be done, and then you can't not do it. You can't not help them. So there are so many animals out here in our country and the world that need help, and a lot of people turn their backs because they'd rather not know it because they're busy, and we're all busy, but you can do a little bit. Everybody can do a little bit to help. And
I know that when I speak to people about situations, I say, okay, you go to the shelter, you see animals sitting in the cold and in wet conditions. They're not even being fed, let's say, all the types of food that they need. They're infested with fleas, disease, etc. People listen, they go, well, I thought the shelters were a shelter. But so education really is the key, and you do a lot of that. Tell me about what you do with education.
I do a lot of education, one-on-one, all the time with people, and whenever I adopt out a dog, we adopt out a tremendous amount of dogs on a monthly basis, and I take the time every time I adopt to educate people on health, vaccinations, training, things like that will help a dog stay in a home forever, and it makes a better relationship. The people are happier that adopt, the dogs are happier. It just makes a better situation for all. And one of the biggest things that I find when people adopt a dog, they're never going to get a perfect dog. It's very rare.
Right.
They need to do some sort of training. They need to educate themselves on not over vaccinating, health. It will help them. Their pets stay healthy for a lot longer. They'll live a lot longer life, and they'll stay out of the vet's offices and save a lot of money on medical care. And what I tell people is, if you can educate yourself, because one of the biggest frustrations I see in people when they adopt a pet is that you know, if the pet isn't perfectly trained when they get it, they've never really worked with a behavioralist or a trainer, and a good trainer that really knows the behavior issues of a dog, and not someone that can just say, sit, stay, come. They need to really understand the psyche of dogs and how dogs relate to people. And, you know, we humanize them, as Caesar says, as Brandon says, we humanize dogs, and we can't do that to have them respond to us the way that we need them to. So I think when people feel educated, they feel like they have the tools that they need to understand their pet and therefore work with their pet. They feel so much more in control, and it's such a better relationship. I get calls from people a lot that feel so out of control. They don't know what to do. So I recommend different trainers. I do a little bit of training with them initially just to help them get into their home and just understand how when they first bring a pet in, they really need to almost give it a little more tough love in the beginning, just so that they set the ground rules, because it's really hard to undo them if they don't do that.
Well, let me ask you just some basics. As far as, let's say, you get a biscuit. You know, you get a biscuit in your life, and it's around 5 months old. Without mentioning brand names or anything, what are some of the basics for food, for medical care that are imperative that someone must do, including spay and neuter, etc. And then what can they do above and beyond that extends a life and helps bring a really fabulous relationship between the animal and the human?
Training for one, health, and you know what to feed them, etc. I have certain brands which I won't mention now, but it's really important for dogs and cats and a lot of animals to get enough protein in their diet. A lot of dry foods do not have enough protein in your diet. So, and
it's all cooked and dry, which is they don't eat that in the wild.
Right. And the thing is a lot of companies tell you that there's a lot of things in the food, a lot of vitamins, a lot of vegetables, a lot of things that are really good for the dogs and the cats, but they actually aren't. They have to bake pet food at such a high temperature that a lot of the good stuff bakes out. So you have to know which ones to buy. A lot of people do raw food or even cook for their animals, which I highly recommend. I think it's wonderful for them. They're actually omnivores like we are. They eat meat, vegetables, things like that from the land. And I mean, it's what works for them. And we feed them a lot of carbohydrates in food, a lot of byproducts. There's also still a lot of recalls going on, so it's better to look into other options, and we can always help with that. I'm always happy to answer questions if people email me, and even if they haven't adopted a dog for me, I like to help because it's helping the pets.
And also, I understand never you're supposed to feed scraps. Your home scraps. I mean, that's what I understood, because there's so many seasonings and different things.
Right.
Is that a fallacy? Right. Is that the truth?
You know, seasonings I don't think are the best thing for them. Can upset their stomach. As far as scraps, it depends on how you define it. Right. So I think, you know, a lot of things that we eat, they can eat as well. A lot of people give their animals carrot sticks.
Right. Well, carrot sticks, steamed broccoli, different
things
or
like
raw
that,
broccoli,
and
things
meat,
like that.
And
but if they had a pizza, like some people, my dog used to like to eat the entire pizza container.
So
you know, so I mean,
that's not something I would recommend. But healthy food that we would eat. You know, obviously no chocolate. There's another thing too that a lot of people are just finding out about. But nothing in the grape or raisin family, nothing in the onion family. They can really do a lot of harm or even kill your dog or your cat.
And what about with training? I know a lot of people like to just train with treats. They say, I'm going to convince this animal to do this and treat them for every time they're doing good. And you're out in the middle of a street somewhere and you're doing something and you don't want that animal to cross the street and you don't have a treat with you. What is the best way, as a general rule, for people when they're trying to work with their animals, training?
Well, it's a great question. When I have a trainer that I work with, there's a couple different philosophies, but some work with treats, some don't. You don't have to work with treats. Dogs respond to, you know, any kind of movement around the neck. This is where their mothers correct them. This is where they play with each other. That's where they correct each other. That's where a pack leader will correct each other, is around the neck. So that is one of the best places to work with an animal and correct him and give him a quick, you know, as Caesar does it, a little poke, and it really works. Another trainer, as far as getting an animal to come to you, she works with, for example, a dog at home. She'll put chicken in her hand and hold her hand closed like this, facing the dog, and teaches them to come and poke her hand. And then that way you have one hand free to grab the dog if it ever does get out and there's a situation. And then they think that there's chicken in your hand. If you've trained them that way, they don't know that it's not there. So if you're outside without food and a dog is across the street and you need that dog to come to you, you put your hand down and pretend that there's chicken in your hand, and then you can reach around and grab them. So I love that one. I think it works fabulously. Another thing is, a lot of times they think it's a game when you're trying to run after them to get them. So something else I've learned, and I've used it, and it worked fabulously as well, is if you lose a dog or if it's away from you, call their name and run the other way. And they think it's a game, and they'll chase after you, and then you can turn around and grab them. So a lot of times, if you chase them, they're going to be gone.
They're playing the game too.
Exactly.
They're going, oh, okay, now I'm going to run next time.
Exactly.
Next time you can chase me.
Exactly.
Well, I looked at your website, and it's amazing to see so many stories of success that you've had. You've had some animals with absolutely horrendous mange, horrendous critical conditions, eyelids inverted, back legs that they can barely walk. How do you maintain keeping an organization together when you have several animals that are so in need, as well as filtering through and continually adopting out other animals? Do you only keep a certain amount at a time, or how does that work?
We do. We only keep a certain amount at a time, depending on the situation. And as you know, there's such a need that there's always so many that need help. But we try not to help just the pretty little puppies that'll go right away. We want to give everybody a chance. So right now we actually recently have gotten our own sanctuary, which we're thrilled. It's just a miracle. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we are housing approximately 60 dogs and about 20 puppies or so. And we're going to build a cattery. We're going to build some horse fencing and help rescue horses and donkeys as well soon.
Wonderful.
But it's been fabulous. We have people that live there and take care of our animals and help medicate. We also have, for special needs, we do foster. I foster sometimes myself. We have other volunteers, which we're always looking for, great foster homes. But we have fosters that will keep dogs, and ones that are familiar with medicating and things like that, and helping rehabilitate after surgery, like Skippy, who you saw on our website. He just had a second back leg operated on for luxating patella, and so he's rehabilitating in a foster home right now. And
now, how do you find your fosters?
Through our website, through the internet, through word of mouth. A lot of people know of us, hear of us, see the good work that we're doing, and they want to become involved and they want to help. And so we interview them and make sure that they're the right fit for a specific dog that they would like to foster. And then it's great because it helps them become a lot more adoptable.
And as far as this sanctuary now, this is going to be an ongoing process for you. How long did it take you to go about getting a sanctuary and the
about
amount
8 years.
of time? Wow.
It's something that some people honestly never get, and we're really fortunate. We have a wonderful angel that's helping us do this, and she's amazing, and she owns the property, and she's allowing us to utilize the property with a kennel on it and a house and a trailer as well, and is allowing us to build, and it's about 10 acres, so we actually have a lot of really wonderful plans for it. So,
do you do adoptions every weekend here in Los Angeles, or how do you do adoptions?
We do adoptions maybe once a month. We do them at different stores, different locations. Sometimes there's different events going on, but we honestly do most of our adoptions through the internet. People look for the animals, they contact us, they send an application, and that gives us time to screen it and make sure it's the right fit for that dog, because we know our animals really well. And whether it be a dog or a cat, we do a little bit of cats right now, but mostly dogs. We're not really set up for a lot of cats, but we actually, it gives us time to screen, and it gives us, if somebody's applying for a dog that we don't think is the right fit for their lifestyle, for example, we can talk to them about it, maybe find them somebody else, and we're pretty good at matching. So it's just a great way for us to do adoptions. A lot of times when you're out at adoptions, it's more of a kind of a knee-jerk reaction because they see a cute dog or a cute puppy, and we're not as successful. We can set up 10 appointments one day from the internet of people that are already very interested in a dog, and have them come to us, and we set up somewhere, and then they'll come and see the dogs that they want, and or go directly to the fosters, or come out to our sanctuary, and then it allows them to actually, meet the dog that they're interested in first.
So in your process, do you have a lot of people, let's say you have volunteers that are involved just in adoption, volunteers that are involved just in, let's say, fostering? How does your volunteer program work in case people are interested in doing that?
Okay, it really varies. It depends on what level of volunteering that they want to do. I have a couple of great foster moms, for example. They love to take puppies, and I've trained them, so now they know how to screen, and we put their information on the website. So when somebody's interested in a puppy that they're fostering, they contact them directly, and they fill out an application, and they do the screening and the home check and make sure that it's the right fit, and they do the whole process. So that's somebody that likes to be really involved, obviously. Sometimes somebody just wants to give a dog a home for a little while until they get a new home. We'll do all the screening, and then contact them and let them know that we have a great home and we need to, arrange for a meeting or what have you, and then we'll do the home check and make sure it's right. And it just really depends. Some people like to just help with adoptions, if we have adoption events. Some people like to help call and get donations for blankets and bowls and different things, and financial donations, and all kinds of things. So it's really kind of what they like to do. We're pretty flexible as far as, we want people to enjoy what they're doing volunteering, because I feel like then they'll enjoy it longer and they'll be with us longer. But so we have a lot of different needs. So we usually can find a need for.
And that's
somebody.
great that they have also the possibility now of going to a sanctuary. So it gives them a real way to be involved in a lot of different aspects.
Absolutely.
They might do one thing for a couple of months and do another for other months, because I really believe that's probably the most important thing when you have a nonprofit is, letting people know that what a difference they make. One person with this very ferocious dog down here that is, sleeping, and all they can do is just give love to it. What a wonderful, what a wonderful gift for both of them to receive, and then know that they've then helped it go to another wonderful home. I know other people say the problem is we have these fabulous fosters and they always end up with the dogs or the cats because they fall in love with them.
It does happen.
Right, they do. Now, I want to talk about that a process, because so many people that I talk to, they get a little perturbed or whatever. They say, why are people asking me so many questions and so many want to see my home and all this? There's a real reason for it. I looked at, let's say, your application. What type of fencing do you have? If you rent, do you have permission from your landlord to have animals? These are things that literally sometimes I find people never even think about.
They don't.
They never think that, oh, is somebody allergic? Well, yeah, my husband was allergic to cats 8 years ago, but we haven't had a cat in 8 years. Maybe we could try it out again. And that's why so many of these animals end up in the shelters. And what is your opinion as far as people that go, well, I don't want you really coming out to my home or whatever? Does that really help you make decisions much quicker?
Absolutely.
What is your percentage of, let's say, the people that apply to the fact that they are adoptable, good adoptive parents or not?
I would say for puppies, actually, it's a little bit different. For puppies, everybody, wants a puppy, and a lot of puppies. I don't adopt puppies out if somebody's gone all day and the puppy's going to be by itself. That's one of our big things. So that's an example. But I think that puppies are harder, so it's probably 50%, honestly. Dogs maybe 70%, and but it is so important. And there are some questions on there. There's probably about 5 or 6 questions that are the most important questions to me. And a lot of people like you and I that are good pet owners and things like that think, oh, that's kind of a silly question, but it actually, you should see some of the answers we get. So I tell people when they say, gosh, I thought those, I'm glad you asked them, but they're kind of funny. Like, I can't imagine not answering it right. And I said, well, you'd be surprised. So, but we do want to make sure that they're in the right home, forever home. It's the best thing for them. And so that's why we really do our due diligence, and we really want to make sure that they are willing to pay for medical. For example, medical is such a big expense with animals, and your dog could run out of the house and get hit by a car, and it could be a $5,000 surgery. I honestly want to know that somebody's going to be willing to go the extra mile if they're going to adopt one of my dogs, and I just think that otherwise the dog suffers with their life. There's health insurance out there for dogs. There's a lot of groups that help people when there is a catastrophic event like that, and we're there to help give information and advice too. I tell people when they adopt from me, I'm here for the whole life of the dog. So I have people call me years later and ask me questions or get advice, and I'm happy to help them. So
about how many animals do you think you've adopted out over the life of the organization?
I'd say thousands. I don't know exactly, but thousands.
Now, is there a core group of you that do a lot of the major amount of adoption work and screening? About how many?
3.
Wow.
There's only about 3 of us. There used to be just me until about 2 years ago. So
wow. And so how does that work in the life of Toni as far as do you have a life outside of this?
It's hard.
Yeah, right.
We're getting towards that more.
Right.
But as you know, when you're building anything,
Mm-hmm.
you know, nonprofit business or a business, it's hard. It takes a lot of your time and energy. But as we're growing and getting more exposure, and now that we have a sanctuary and
Mm-hmm.
we're getting more and more volunteers, it's helping a lot. So I like to focus my energies on, like I said, educating about not over-vaccinating and health and training and things that are really important to help keep a dog in a home and have it live a long, healthy life. So those are the things that are important to me. And as we get more volunteers, it'll be easier and easier to do more. And the more we can do, the more lives we can save. So.
As far as being able to afford all these things and the ways that you do things, now you're starting to have annual events
Yes.
and other events.
Yes.
So that's very helpful. And
It
I
is.
assume you probably, in the land of Los Angeles, have some celebrity support and
do.
different things. So
We do.
at these events, are they more like cocktail events, or are they animal events? What sort of things are you going to be holding in the future?
We do both. We just had a cocktail event, which was a smaller event, and just kind of a holiday party to celebrate the sanctuary. It's the last Saturday of April every year. We are having our annual big event. So last year we had a little doggy fashion show, and it was the
fun.
highlight of the night. Yeah, it's great. So we had, you know, one of the pretty big celebrity, his wife was our MC and our auctioneer for the night, which was great, and it was a really fun event. And this year it's going to be even better. So we're really excited. We're doing something at the Laugh Factory around Valentine's Day this year. So we need to do this to raise money. A lot of people are very generous and, you know, donate money. We're working on getting grants and different things like that, and, you know, and we take adoption fees, which helps for little things keep going. You know, we have to feed them and medicate them, and
that's what
vet
people don't
them,
understand too.
yeah.
They go, "Why am I paying a fee?" Well, they've got to be spayed and neutered. They've had
Yes.
shots.
Yes.
They've had people feeding them, and it really is such a minimal
Right.
amount of money
is.
that people take in
It
at
is.
different rescue groups. Yours is just right along with all the others,
Yes.
for all the time and effort that's done to save the life of one animal.
Right.
And sometimes that one animal's fee can go maybe help save the life of 8 puppies or kittens that have come along as well.
Yes.
That maybe somebody else, and I know so many of the groups work together a lot of times. They work on a let's say, I'll get those puppies out, but then we'll house the rest of them, and then this other group will adopt them out later on. So everybody really works together, which is what's so fabulous.
Right.
As far as working in these really bad situations with animals that have been so ill, and at your sanctuary, are you going to have permanent animals there, meaning animals that will never be adopted out, or are you going to basically be continually adopting out animals? Because I know that gets to be a real stopping point for some organizations where they take in animals and keep them permanently. What type of sanctuary are you going to be?
We try to adopt out everybody. If we could adopt out everybody, that is my goal. So, and we do adopt out most of them. There's a few that have been in the rescue for a while that are harder to adopt, but we're still trying to adopt them. One of them has been in the rescue for a while, and we just got her in the Orange County Register, and we're trying to really promote her so that people see her and understand that she's a great dog, and she just hasn't been seen enough, or, you know, just not gotten the exposure that she needs. But, you know, we do take some older animals sometimes too that are going to go to the shelter, get put down, and just really sad to see them in their golden years going to the shelter and then having to end their life there without any kind of love and attention and things like that. So sometimes we understand that they're going to stay with us forever. So, but most of the time, those dogs are not in our kennel. They're up at the house with the couple that lives there.
Oh, that's
and
great.
so they get to stay in the house and in and out. And there's a group of dogs that get to do that. So
That's great.
Yeah, which is
as
really
far
nice.
as the future for animals in general. Let's say we're here in Los Angeles, and you're fighting that fight here in Los Angeles. Do you see an improvement that's happened over, let's say, the last 5 years since you've been involved? The last 8 years, very specifically. What do you see are some of the points that are holding us back from really getting people to understand about the plight of animals and the enormous amount of thousands of animals that are dying in our shelters every year? Do you see there's an improvement, or what do you think are some of the things that
do.
need to be done?
I see that there's been an improvement. I am really hoping that the spay-neuter bill gets passed, because I think that'll be such a great start. I actually have noticed, surprisingly, over the years, I mean, there's still a lot of animals that are stray and that are dumped on the streets and things like that, but I don't find them as much as I used to, which is a really good sign to me.
Interesting.
the other thing is I think it's about education, and I think things like the spay neuter bill and different things in missions of other rescues and animal rights groups that are going on right now are educating the public. You know, there's a lot of very educated people that have no idea what goes on. You know, I think we euthanized 14 million last year or more animals in our country alone, and when I tell people that, they're like, what? They can't believe it. So,
and when they see the pictures of healthy puppies and healthy kittens, not
and
even
purebreds, and there's always purebreds in every shelter. There are so many animals that are wonderful pets that are euthanized. I mean, a lot of shelters don't even adopt half of what comes in, and people don't realize that. And I think it's just about educating them so that they get involved and at least can donate or do something to help people that are helping them. And I always tell people, you can get involved, you can help. You need to educate yourself so that you know what's going on out there. You can't just turn your back, because it is happening. A lot of people know, but they think if they don't have to look at it or see it, that they don't have to get involved. But I think that is such a big thing, is education, because otherwise, how do they know what goes on?
The cycle keeps going.
It does.
And these last minutes, you've got your organization, A Wish for Animals. Tell us how we can contact you. What is the website?
The website is www.awishforanimals, and the 4 is spelled out, FOR.org. And anybody can email me at awishforanimals@yahoo.com. And I'm Toni again. And I'm happy to help questions if they're looking for an animal. Anything they might need.
So your nonprofit's going to help dogs, cats, and eventually horses and everything.
Yes.
Well, that's so great. Thank you so much for coming.
You're
We
welcome.
hope
Thank you.
that Biscuit is going to have a fabulous life. I think Biscuit's going to have to wake up occasionally for life.
I think he is.
And he's going to have a great one. And we know that you're going to have wonderful success, and that
Thank you.
we wish for you that your wish for animals comes true.
Thank you so
because
much.
that's really what everybody's goal is, and that's what the goal of Critter Crusades is.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you
it,
for
Missy.
joining us here on Critter Crusades, the show about ordinary people on extraordinary missions to help animals. I hope that you'll go out and make a difference, make a wish for animals for yourself. Remember, don't let her spay and neuter, and go out and make a difference. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
So look.